Hello, to a brand new episode of Dylan Knows. It's a short one this week, short week. I guess early January is kind of the dull, boring period of the year. Way here. Wow, that's way. Oh, it's just. Oh, sorry, I gotta get my lighting fixed. I didn't try to do that before that. No, like that. There we go. That's good. So, a short one this week, about a page and not quite a half of notes. Not a lot of stuff of note to happen this week. There were some more big deaths this week. There was the Book of Boba Fett, episode 2. Pixar made some announcements. Amazon made some announcements. We're going to talk about public domain. We're going to talk about Valentine's Day, the mafia, candy, tourist death, football weirdness. I forgot to put a D next to that one. There we go. Beer, Dune Part 2, Johnny Knoxville, Betty White, Amazon, Netflix, typical stuff. So not really a whole lot rolling out this week. It was the anniversary of the January 6th insurrection last year came out this week, so there was a lot of talk about that. But we're not really going to get into that because I did a whole episode about that last year at this time. So we're just going to move on from that. The name of the episode, this is episode 425, Bookends Snow Days, or Bookends Snow Storms, or whatever it was. The reason I said that is because this week started with snow and ended with snow. Now, the snow that hit us on Monday they've been telling us was going to be more of a southern storm, which we expected, and here in the Reisterstown area, and that we were going to get 1 to 3 inches, and then just before nightfall, they changed it to 2 to 4 inches to us, but of course heavier, 4 to 6 down south, and even further south got 6 to 12, so on and so forth. So expecting a little bit of snow on the ground. People were already expecting schools to close because the heaviness of the snow. So got up in the morning, and I called out because I was still feeling a little bit under the weather from the last week, and we have a new COVID policy in place that if you don't feel good, stay home. I didn't have COVID, but I didn't feel good, so I decided I was going to stay home on Monday. So it turned out we got not 4 inches, not 3 inches, not 2 inches, not 1 inch. Barely a dusting, about a half an inch. It was literally embarrassing how little snow we got after people were saying 1 to 3 and 2 to 4. Now, on the flip side, where my mom lives in Towson, they got about 4 to 6 inches. Where my sister lives down in Virginia, she got 12 plus inches. And down south near where my work is, so again, southern storm, they got about 4 to 6 inches as well. So in the end, it worked out that I stayed home because a lot of people stayed home, and that it was heavier snow down by my work than where I was. So the next day, Tuesday, they shut down schools again because even though we didn't have any snow, parts of Baltimore County are to the south of us, and they were getting nailed. As I said, Towson's part of Baltimore County, they got 4 to 6 inches. Parts near my work, Lansdowne, stuff like that, they got 4 to 6 inches, so their roads were still pretty bad, so they were closed schools again on Tuesday. It was brutally cold. I think when I went out in the morning to get in my car to go to work, it was 19 degrees, and for some reason I decided I wasn't going to heat up my car. And then until I got into the car and turned it on, and I was going to scrape off the ice. I guess I looked out, I didn't see any ice and thought it wasn't needed to do that, but I was wrong. So I go out there and I'm scraping a little bit, and I'm scraping for about 5 minutes, and the car's still a little cold. So I get in, and my wheel's locked. I can't move my wheel at all. Now, I've been having these rubbing issues with my car's steering where when I'd be turning, it was sound like stuff was rubbing, and it was only like the real sharp turns, left, right, whatever, subtle turns, driving on the highway and shifting lanes, going on to easy exit, stuff like that. I never had that grinding sort of noise, but I had the grinding noise with my car. So I said, okay, I can't drive in this. So I shut it down, called out work again because I was going to take it to get checks. I thought it might have been, I knew that some places get a steering wheel fluid, and maybe mine didn't have any for whatever reason. So I went to Jiffy Lube to get them to check it. They were busy as all heck. It took them about, I don't know, almost an hour to get to my car and look at it and determine that I had the fluid in it. And then they put it up on a rig to check underneath it, and they saw that the wheels were turning a little bit weird. So they said they think that I might need new rack and pinion steering. Now, I don't know rack and pinion steering from anything. So I was like, oh, great, that's wonderful. So I came back and I realized that, okay, it's going to cost some money. So I was going to drop it off at my my regular place on Wednesday and get it taken care of. We had, when I got this car almost 2.5 years ago, well, no, 2 years ago in a month, we signed a contract where they would pay for all repairs up to 3 years or 80,000 miles. I'm only at 71,000 miles, and this deal expires at the end of this year. So I had time, so they would pay for my stuff. So I thought I couldn't lose anything. So called on Wednesday, said I wasn't going to be in again because I'd get my car put in place, but that I'd finish up the week. We'd figure out a way to do it. My wife said that she could work nights and I could drive the van, or maybe I could rent a car. I don't know. Don't know how long it's going to take. So I take it to my place at 8:30 in the morning when it opens. And I'm talking to the guy, and he starts, taking my information, looks stuff up, and says, your car actually doesn't have rack and pinion steering, it has electrical. I was like, oh, okay. He also said he didn't know how they were able to take a look at the fluid. So he said that he would, check it. He would, need to check it for himself and determine what needs to be done. And he didn't know how to proceed with it because he didn't want to have to, have me say it's rack and pinion steering, and then they get up there and it's not rack and pinion steering, but it costs all that. And also to change the rack and pinion steering, it's going to be 5 hours of labor, which includes taking the engine out of the car and dismantling the front of the car, replacing the steering thing, and then replacing all that stuff back again. They're professionals. They've done it for a while. So it was going to cost upwards about $2,000. So he said he didn't want to deal with that. If it was something similar to that, he would let me know, and I'd get it covered by my company that I buy that car from, Enterprise. But he wanted to be sure that maybe it just needed fluid, or maybe it's something else, and maybe it's not the steering, maybe it's a loose something or other, whatever. He said he won't be able to know that till he gets it up and checks it out for himself. They were booked all the rest of this week, and it's still drivable, except, as I said, obviously for the rubbing turns when I turn the wheel, it makes a rubbing noise, but I can still drive it. And I've had this problem for a while now, so it hasn't affected me. Until I realized that I probably just need to heat up the car a little bit more before I get it started, and that should loosen up the wheel, and I shouldn't have to worry about turning the tire. I'll find out more on that about Tuesday. Tuesday is going to be really brutally cold. So I said I would bring it back on Wednesday, this upcoming Wednesday, to have them take a look at it. I would drop it off Tuesday night and then take it off Wednesday. Now I'm thinking I might take Wednesday off just in case they say that it's what the issue is. And maybe it's not going to be a bigger problem, and they can get it done. I can get it, taken care of, or it's going to be a small thing that'll take a day or so, and I can worry about how I'm going to get to work and stuff like that when that comes. But I'll think about that. So I'm doing that. So we'll see about that. So that was an issue. So by the time this is all said and done, it was about 9 o'clock. I said, you know what? There's no reason for me to stay home because I'm not going to be able to get it dropped off till next week, and it works fine. So I called my work, said I'll be in. So I went in and worked the remainder of the week. Now, Thursday night into Friday, I should say, we got another snowstorm. This one they said was going to be a little bit more snow up here, but not nearly as bad as it was to our south. They're not going to get another big round of snow, and then it wasn't going to be all that bad. height-wise, 2 to 4 inches, I think they said in general for the whole area. And it was going to start Thursday night and finish up by about 4 or 5 in the morning on Friday morning, so that it would cause, problems for, commuting into work and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, that's great. So schools at that time were going to do 2 hours late, and then 5:30 a.m. they called and said it was going to be closed on Friday. We did get snow. It started about 11:30ish, I guess, and dropped I'd say about 3 inches on us. But my road got plowed, and it really wasn't too bad, and it wasn't snowing when I got up. It was snowing a little bit, but not too much when I got up. And so I started my car and took all the snow off of it, and cleaned up the area, shoveled around my car, shoveled the walk, cleaned off my wife's car. And so it was about half an hour, and I was ready to roll. So I got in the car, and my wheel worked fine. So I went to work and worked with Skeleton Crew on Friday. So that was what happened with that. So that was how my week went. I also was planning on trying to get my COVID booster this week. I was going to go to Weiss up the street because they have it, and set it up for Friday night so that when I get off of work Friday, I could get it, and then I'd be able to recover this weekend. So I go Thursday to make my appointment. They're like, yeah, we don't have an available appointment until next Wednesday, which is like, great. So I didn't get my booster. I don't know when I'm going to get my booster now. I have to set an appointment somewhere. I got to find it. But with car issues, I don't know what's going to happen with that. My family's going camping next week for Scouts, so I don't know where that's going to go. So we'll see what happens. Now, also learned due to COVID stuff, my kids' school Monday and Tuesday is going to be shut down, and the kids are going to have to do asynchronous work on their tablets while the teachers are prepped into how to get things prepped for another possible virtual learning session, because COVID is starting to spread a lot quicker and faster, and more people are affected by it. So they might go back to all online stuff. So we'll find out about that. So things are progressing as they were. So that was my week. So that's why it was kind of a weird week. The kids were off Monday, Tuesday, Friday. Went in Wednesday, Thursday to school, and then they're not going to school Monday, Tuesday because of this virtual stuff. And then they'll go back to school Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then over the weekend they'll determine what they're going to do, or they might decide tomorrow or Monday or Tuesday that they're going to go virtual for the rest of January, something like that. And so we'll be aware of that. So we'll see what happens, what's going on with that. So that's to be continued. Some big deaths this week, not as big as last week. This week we only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 instead of 13. So we'd have about half the deaths that we had last week. We did have 2 big ones. The biggest one is Sir Sidney Poitier. Died at the age of 94. He was the first African-American male actor to win an Academy Award. A African-American woman won one before he did for Gone with the Wind. But Sidney Porter was the first male, black male to African-American male to get a Academy Award. He was in such movies as To Sir with Love, and I think there was Mr. Tibbs, and Sneakers, and a whole bunch of, In the Heat of the Night. He was in a lot of big films, was a big influence on a lot of the African-American actors of our time right now, like Denzel Washington or Chadwick Boseman, stuff like that. Director Peter Bogdanovich of Last Picture Show, Paper Moon, and other stuff as well, died at the age of 82 this week. He was also in an episode of Northern Exposure as himself, talking to Ed Chigliak, who was an up-and-coming filmmaker. So that was interesting. But those 2 passed away this week. Also this week, we lost Marilyn Bergman, a award-winning lyricist, died at the age of 94. She wrote the lyrics for The Way We Were and In the Heat of the Night are just 2 of her hits. She also did a bunch of music for the movie Yentl. Mike Caminilla Artists of Powerpuff Girls, Road to El Dorado, and The Simpsons died this week as well. This isn't a celebrity, but a tourist dies after falling 100 feet into the active Kilauea volcano in Hawaii. So he was just got a little too close to it, fell into the volcano, and died probably instantly, burned up in the lava. So that's a really weird way to die, and bizarre and awful way to die. Greg Robinson, the Denver the Denver Broncos defensive coordinator during their back-to-back Super Bowls, died at the age of 70 this week. Kim Mi-soo, actress on some Disney Plus shows, a young actress from Korea, died at the age of 29 this week as well. And that is our deaths for this week. Excuse me. Speaking of Disney Plus, the Book of Boba Fett episode 2 came out this week. Still continuing some of his backstory, though that took the majority of the episode. It was the second half of the episode. The first half of the episode had Boba getting answers from the assassins that tried to kill him in last week's episode. Said the mayor had hired him, so they went to visit the mayor, and the mayor, was all cutesy and played with him and sent him in the direction of the club that he went to in the first episode, and discovered that Jabba had a niece and nephew who are laying claim on Tatooine. So he's got another obstacle he's got to overcome now. And then he went and did his back to Bath, where he had his dream. And it was more about his time with the Sand People, where they were starting to train him up more about being a warrior and dealing with the what they call the train, which is the group of people that just come through and just knock off Sand People just for the hell of it. They probably, they're the ones from the first episode that were beating up the homesteaders and stealing their stuff. So Boba decided he wanted to take them out. So he stole a bunch of their speeder bikes and taught the Sand People how to ride speeder bikes. And then they raided the train and were able to take it down and put the fear of Sand People into this group of people, declare war on whoever was doing this to them. And because of that, the Sand People's leader made him go through a to get him inducted into the clan as a leader. He had to go like on a vision quest sort of thing. So it was kind of an off kilter, weird episode. But it's still good though, still entertaining. So we'll see what happens. I can see maybe a lot of people probably didn't like, because the storyline is moving a little bit slower, but it's fun to get all this background information on how Boba Fett recovered and came back to life and what he's been doing. So I think that's kind of interesting myself. And that's why I don't mind it too much. So not bad. And we'll continue on with the next episode next week. Pixar seems to be doing releasing their films direct to Disney Plus. They didn't do it with Encanto, but they did it with Luca and a few other ones as well, Soul and a few other ones, and it seems to be successful for them. So their new one called Turning Red, about the girl who turns into a red panda whenever she gets angry or upset, will be coming to Disney Plus first on March the 11th. So now that Eternals comes out on into Disney Plus on the 12th, which I guess would be Wednesday, right? Today is the 9th, 10th, 11th. Yep, it'll be on Wednesday. So Wednesday, the Eternals comes to Disney Plus. Be able to finally see that. So we'll probably have an Eternals review next week. So that's good. I should have had this to the dying. It's not a person, but a giant dying star explodes as scientists watch in real time, which is a first ever. They watched the whole event take place as they're watching the star, and then all of a sudden they start going through its chain reaction and then saw it actually explode physically they saw it through telescopes and stuff like that. So that's really kind of a neat little story that it's the first time they'd ever been able to see that. So that's kind of a cool, neat little thing that they're doing, which is cool. Didn't talk about this last week because I was just trying to get the story straight, and I still really haven't gotten a straight story on it. But every year, public domain is a big thing where copyright has gone up on certain creations. So that means that anybody can use those creations without having to pay a fee for copyright or whatever. It's always fun to see that because then you get somebody who might be creative, could take something from the public domain and turn it into something huge and big again. So like, for example, this year's public domain stuff is Winnie the Pooh is in the public domain, but not the Disney version, the A.A. Milne version, the actual one that was written about. So if you wanted to do a story about the A.A. Milne Winnie the Pooh on your own, you can now and not have to pay a copyright. You can make a movie, animated movie, whatever with it. H.P. Lovecraft is now in the public domain as well. So people are like saying, "Oh, we should combine Winnie the Pooh and H.P. Lovecraft." And some guy actually did that on Facebook. It was kind of funny. Franz Kafka's The Castle is now public domain also, so people can turn that into a musical or make a movie of it without having to pay any copyright, stuff like that. I think Langston Hughes, one of his books is in the public domain now, so you can use his poems and stuff like that for songs and stuff and not have to pay copyright law. So look up public domain 2022 and they'll list everything that's in there, which is kind of neat. There's probably a list of stuff from the previous years also, so you can actually see what you can go in there. And so one day I need to check the public domain stuff out and see what's interesting and see if I can maybe make something out of something in the public domain. So that'd be kind of interesting. So there's that. Excuse me. A nuclear fusion reactor in China has set a new record for sustained high temperatures after running 5 times hotter than the sun. So yeah, that's a thing now, that there's actually something on Earth that is man-made that is hotter than the sun. And that's kind of scary, actually, if you think about it. Now, during this age of COVID, it's not unusual to see movies changing up their release dates due to, not too many people wanting to go back to the movie theaters right away, or trying to recoup their money, or trying to maybe in some cases add some stuff and have to extend a little bit. Like the James Bond movie was finished and supposed to come out in early 2020, didn't come out till last year in the fall, so almost a year and a half later. Black Widow, same thing, was supposed to come out in 2020, came out about a year and a couple months later. So there's stuff like that. So the next one now is Morbius, the Jared Leto movie that supposedly takes place in the Sony Spider-Man world, but the Michael Keaton Spider-Man villain, the Vulture, is in it. And there's rumors that there's other stuff in it that might be one of these weird multiverse sort of things. That's all the rage now. And they're thinking that they might have moved the date from its January release date to April 1st now, to add maybe Andrew Garfield or other new stuff to it, to sort of capitalize on what was happening in No Way Home, Spider-Man No Way Home. So we'll find out. But now Morbius has been moved to April 1st now. Dune Part 2 has officially been greenlit. There's been, the minute that it came out, everyone was like, it's going to get a sequel, no doubt, because that's how the director wanted to make it, was going to split into 2 parts, but he didn't have an actual okay. He has an okay now. It is coming up, so keep an eye out for that. A perfectly preserved dinosaur embryo was found in an egg. I think I talked about that last week, but I'm not sure. But I thought that was kind of interesting. We know last week Betty White passed away at the age of 99. Her 100th birthday is January 17th. Again, it's after midnight, so it is now January 9th. So it's in 8 days. And to honor Betty White, people are now saying that on her 100th, what would have been her 100th birthday, people should give money to your local animal charities because Betty White was huge in the taking care of animals and stuff like that. So I'm throwing my hat out there for you guys to do this. I might consider doing it as well. Go to a local animal shelter or any animal charity you can find and give. It doesn't have to be a lot of money, but give some money in honor of Betty White. Because and her love for animals. Jackass Johnny Knoxville is going to now appear in the WWE Royal Rumble 2022. Don't know when that's going to be, but he is going to make his wrestling debut coming up real soon. Man said that an owl led him through a blizzard back to his campsite when he got stuck in the woods when a blizzard blew up. An owl helped him go back to his campsite, which I think is really kind of cool. Hey, if you got a couple $1 million, couple $1 billion, why don't you go buy a TV network? The CW is now up for sale, and people are afraid that whoever ends up buying it may either dismantle it or might cancel all the DC shows on there and re-up on some stuff. So we will see what happens with that. We don't know what's going to go on with that, so we'll see. BMW is going to release a car that changes color at the press of a button, which is kind of problematic because if you are a criminal and you steal it and your witness says it was a white BMW and you press a button and it can turn blue, pink, green, yellow, orange and black, whatever, you won't be able to catch them. But it is a new thing that popped up at the car convention out in Vegas. And it's an intriguing idea, to say the least, but it still is also very dangerous as well. Chapstick has a coffee collection lip balm now. Includes like a vanilla latte flavored lip balm and some other stuff as well. So, why not jump onto the coffee flavor bandwagon, though does not give you caffeine, which is a shame. If they could do that with the lip balm, that might be a huge seller. An Italian mafia boss was caught after Google Maps spotted him in Spain. So Google Maps was getting pictures taken and always showing what's going on in the world at certain times. And someone was checking it and noticed a mafia person who's been on the loose in Spain, and they found it and were able to connect to it, and they got rid of him and arrested him, I guess. 2 suspects caused damage to the Key West Monument. It's a monument that says the southernmost point of the United States, and these 2 idiots are on videotape building a bonfire around it and setting the bonfire on fire, causing damage to it. Didn't destroy it, but it caused damage to it. So just going to get cleaned up, and they'll have to figure out a way to protect it from now on. Just in time for Valentine's Day, Pabst Blue Ribbon Beer is apologizing for tweets on Twitter about eating ass. Okay. Cool. Speaking of eating ass, the edible chocolate anuses are back for Valentine's Day. You heard the story last year or the year before that. People were making chocolate impressions of their anus and giving it to their loved ones so they could eat their anus. It is being re-released now, but I don't think it's just. I think it's just a generic anus. But yes, you can buy edible anus chocolates for Valentine's Day and give it to your loved ones and say, "I want to eat your anus," and here is some chocolate, so that we can move from the chocolate to your chocolate. Ew, gross, man. Chocolate fudge covered strawberry fudge stripe cookies. That's a mouthful, are coming for Valentine's Day as well. You could probably go to any place now and start seeing Valentine's Day stuff. My wife has Valentine's Day stuff up. Target's had Valentine's Day stuff up for a while now. Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. Any other Valentine's Day? So raspberry cream Kit Kats are going to be coming back out for Valentine's Day. And vanilla frosting kisses, Hershey's Kisses with vanilla frosting, either flavor or actual frosting inside the kiss, will be released in time this year for your Valentine's Easter sort of celebration sort of thing. Eggo frosted maple flavored Pop-Tarts. I've talked about them before. I really want to try them. I haven't seen them yet, but they are supposedly out in the world now. Just a matter of finding them and chowing down on them. A couple weeks ago, I talked about a realistic robot which was reacting, had facial reactions and emotional reactions and stuff like that, which is kind of scary, the fact that AI is learning this type of stuff. Well, looks like the same group was trying some different things, and a incredible human-like robot got angry when someone kept booping his nose. So the robot did not like someone booping his nose and was getting upset. That's something you don't see from your robot unless the AI is starting to really get uber developed, and showing emotional stuff and stuff like that. It's kind of scary that stuff is going on right now, but it is. So it's something to keep an eye out on down the line, I guess. Beavis and Butthead revival movie will be coming to Paramount Plus. Some of the artwork for it looks like you're going to be taking a look at them as grown-ups. Sort of similar to what they did in South Park, and it's going to be available only on Paramount Plus, the streaming service, to get that. So that's going to be the only way you can see the Beavis and Butthead revival movie. Much like with the South Park revival movie as well, you can only see that on Paramount Plus as well. Now, Leonardo Dicaprio for years has been trying to get the rights to make a movie about, I think his name is E.E. Holmes, who is a serial killer who worked in Chicago in the Midwest after Jack the Ripper's reign of terror in 1884. So it was like in the 1890s. This guy, E.E. Holmes, created a building that was, in all intents and purposes, quite bizarre, and would trap people in airtight pockets and have them suffocate and listen to them suffocating to death, and then would, I think, destroy their bodies. It's a whole crazy storyline behind it, and crazy so much that Eric Larson wrote a book called The Ghost in the... I read it too. Oh, crap. Did I write down the name of it? Oh, yeah. Devil in the White City. I read the book this past year, I think. And it's a story about how E.E. Holmes did his serial killing while Chicago was, building up for the World's Fair. It's a quite interesting book. It's a little long, but it covers both E.E. Holmes's serial killing times, but not in real grotesque detail because he didn't really slaughter anybody. He just made them suffocate, really. And the creation and the hardships that went through the Chicago's World Fair to get created. So there's a whole book about it that connects the two stories together. And Leonardo DiCaprio has been trying forever to make this. So eventually he's now gotten the rights to do it. He is going to be doing a TV show, which makes a lot of sense. I don't know if he's going to be involved in it acting-wise. I know he's developing it, so he's going to be producing it, might have written the screenplays, might even try his hand at directing, and he might even act in it also. I mean, I know he wanted to be E.E. Holmes in movie versions of it. He's trying to get Scorsese to make one, but they just never got everything lined up. But now, with the advent of big stars making TV shows. He figures it's a one-off TV show. I can get some big time actors into it, and it can be a huge deal, and it'll make good money, and I can get this creatively off my plate. He's in talks to discuss stuff with Keanu Reeves. Now, I don't know who Keanu would play. If DiCaprio is going to play E.E. Holmes, I don't know who Keanu would play. Maybe one of the builders of the Chicago World's Fair, but it's just Keanu seems a little bit out of place there, but he is rumored to be at least in the running in some form or capacity in this TV show that DiCaprio is putting together. So that's to be continued more. I would actually love to see it because it's actually a really good book. So if you want to find out what it's all about, it's called The Devil in the White City. And it's written by Eric Larson. It's really, really good. It's a long read, and it can get a little rough in some areas because they really get into some technical details of the World's Fair, but it's a fascinating. The World's Fair in and of itself is an interesting story about how that creation came up and all the situations that they had to deal with there. And to throw in a serial killer subplot as well just makes it even more of a exciting little thing to do with. So this is a very short episode. We're only 35 minutes in, and I'm just about finished. We're going to finish up with actually, I'm not bad yet. Let's do these two things here. Speaking of Netflix has a Scott Pilgrim anime in the works right now based on the popular comic book and the live action film. So they're going to be doing an anime of it, which actually fits the Scott Pilgrim mold better than anything else. Now, with the success of the Wheel of Time and obviously the more than likely success of the Lord of the Rings prequel coming up from Amazon, and Amazon's had a pretty good run of stuff. Good Omens has also done really well. And they were talking about they want to keep doing this sort of genre stuff. And, during the popularity of the Wheel of Time and the discussions and the interviews, stuff like that, producers are throwing out, I was like, yeah, we might consider doing something else big. We might even consider doing something like Fallout, which is based on a video game. And like all the gamer people like Felicia Day and a few other people were just like, yeah, sign me up. I want to be involved in it in some form or another. So Amazon sort of was doing that to get an idea of what, people's interests are, and they have okayed a Fallout show on Amazon. They have a showrunner and they have directors for the show. So it is a go. Earliest late next year, probably it'll show up. So we will see what happens with that. So we're going to end this week's episode. Again, I told you a very short one. Sorry about that, but I really can only do with what we have with some sports ball. First up is baseball. Here locally, the Baltimore Orioles baseball network used to be 105.7. They had been airing the games now for about, 5-6 years, maybe longer. I don't know. They did not win the bid to keep broadcasting it. 98 Rock, which already does the Ravens games, is now going to be the network to broadcast Orioles games now, as well as Ravens games, pushing 105.7 out of any discussion now. And all they have right now is University of Maryland football and basketball, and they also do the live streams of the national games, Monday Night Football and Sunday Night Football and Thursday Night Football. There's a national radio syndication that sells it to these networks. They have that, so that's all they're going to get. They ain't going to be doing Orioles anymore, and they never had the Ravens. So, sucks to be them, but sometimes it's just the way it is. You don't get the bid, someone outbids you, and you're just going to have to wait 5 years and try again and see how it goes. Which kind of sucks for them because they were the broadcaster during the rebuild of the Orioles. And now that the Orioles are on the cusp of having their rebuild starting to show some signs, they no longer have the rights to air the game. So I think that's kind of a dick move, but it's business, and that's all it is. 98 Rock had a better bid, and they got it. This weekend marks the end of the regular football season. It is the first time in NFL history that there have been 17 weeks of games. And this is week 17. Technically, it's week 18 with the bye, but week 17 for all the teams. Their last games this week. A lot of games have playoff seeding or getting in possibility, so it's kind of a big deal. The Ravens have a very, 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 very slim chance of getting in. They do not deserve to actually get in. And I think even if they did, they'd get knocked out in the first round anyway. They would not make it even to the Super Bowl. So it would be best to me is that, get the win tomorrow, or it should be today, against the Steelers, because it is Steelers week. Big Ben's last game as a Pittsburgh Steeler. Get the win against them. Finish 9-8, which is a winning season. Probably second place in the division, and not make the playoffs and rest everybody up so that next year they can make their run for the Super Bowl. So that's my prediction of what they need to do. Now, the slim possibility would be if the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are considered to be one of the worst teams in football, takes down the Indianapolis Colts, which happens to be one of the better teams in football right now. If they do that, the Raiders need to lose to the Chargers in order for and the Ravens have to win their game against the Steelers in order for the Ravens to get into the playoffs. That's the scenario. All that stuff has to happen. Now, everyone's talking is that, everyone's thinking like, the Colts Jaguars, yeah, there's no way they're losing that one. I just said that myself. But the one little neat, interesting note is that the Colts are 0 at Jacksonville Stadium since like 2014, 2016, something like that. They haven't won a game there in almost 4 or 5 years. And that was even with some bad teams too, and the Colts having some good teams. So, but this is a different time. I just don't see that happening again. But that does in turn create another interesting little quirk. If the Colts do lose to the Jaguars, then the Raiders-Chargers game on Sunday Night Football becomes huge. Again, the winner of that one goes into the playoffs. Losers eliminated. The Ravens take the loser's place. No. If the Raiders lose, the Ravens take their place. The Chargers lose. I think somebody else takes their place of the in that that last playoff spot. But here's the funny thing, though. Despite all that, both the Raiders and the Chargers can get into the playoffs. And the way they do that is if the Jaguars somehow are able to beat the Colts. If that's the case, the Chargers-Raiders game has to end in a tie. If it ends in a tie, both teams make it to the playoffs. Just think about that. They're playing each other. Okay, they're playing Sunday Night Football, their last game of the week. So they're playing each other with playoff implications. But if Jaguars have beaten the Colts, these two now know we don't need to win and we don't need to lose. If we don't win, if we lose, we're not going to be in the playoffs. If we win, we're in. But if we tie, we're both in. So the teams might get together and say, you know what? Let's just, table this game and let's just end it in a tie. And we both get in the playoffs. So that's a weird little quirk, and we'll see if that happens. I also see that happening. I think the Colts are going to beat the Jaguars pretty handily. Jaguars are just falling apart right now. About teams that are falling apart, the Raiders, I just talked about them, they had another player arrested for DUI. Now, in this case, it's not as bad as the last one. The last guy who got arrested for DUI actually killed somebody while driving, while intoxicated. This person was just DUI and got busted. So just another weird sort of quirk for the Raiders right now. The Washington football team will be announcing their new name and showing off their new costume, their new uniform on February 2nd, Groundhog Day 2022. So 2/2/22, we will find out the Washington football team's new name for their team, for their franchise. And finally, we're going to end tonight's short episode on another weird sort of coincidental sort of quirk that seems to happen in the NFL a lot. Think back to 2013. Robert Quinn is a pass rusher. He plays for, at that time, I think they're not Los Angeles Rams. They are the St. Louis Rams at that time, I think. So he plays for the Rams, and he sets the Rams single season sack record by sacking quarterback Mike Glennon of the I think he's playing for the Saints or something like that. Whatever. I don't know, but the Rams single season sack record belonged to Robert Quinn in 2013. He got it by sacking quarterback Mike Glennon. Fast forward to 2022. Robert Quinn is still playing. He's still playing at a high level. He's now on the Chicago Bears. And this year, he set the Bears single season sack record by sacking quarterback Mike Glennon, who's playing for Tampa Bay or something like that. I don't know. Minnesota, maybe. So it's just one of these little weird quirks that this guy set the single season sack record for two different teams by sacking the same quarterback over a span of 9 years. I thought it was kind of neat. I thought it was kind of an interesting little NFL quirk. And that is today's shortened episode of Dylan Knows. Again, not doing it deliberately. It just is a quiet week. A lot of reflection on the January 6th insurrection stuff. The weather was a big deal. Not a lot of stuff going on. Plus, it was the first week of school, work, after the holidays for people. People are just getting back into the swing of things, stuff like that. We should start seeing more interesting stuff and news coming up as the weeks progress. Award season's coming up, so probably seeing a lot more of that. More trailers are going to start dropping. We need to find out from Disney Plus what shows are coming on after Boba Fett. They're scheduled to air. So that's something I haven't seen in a while. You're stable. Okay. It's back on there, but that was kind of a weird that I thought that was only happening on the old computer, but it's happening on this one too. But that's a sign now. That means that I need to get out of here. So hopefully that won't be a big deal in the future, because that's the reason why we got this new computer, so we don't have this unstable connection. All right, everybody, take care. Be good.